Welcome to the ripple effect of love for dads and families. Today, we have a special guest as we are talking about letting go of grief. We all know that grief can hit really hard sometimes. And is it possible to turn our lives around? So let me bring Tony up here. Here you go. And mute this phone so that it doesn't beep on us. There we go. Excellent. Welcome, Tony. I'm so excited to have you here. I should say Tony Lynch, but we've had a few interactions and I feel like we've known each other for a while. So, welcome. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and why grief is such an important topic for you?
Yeah, I'm a men's grief coach. Well, first and foremost, I'm Tony Lynch. I am the founder of the nonprofit Memories of Us. I'm a men's grief coach, have been for 6 years. I'm also one of the founders of the Global Grief Network. I am the host of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. I'm a two-time author, program designer, as well as the chief editor of Grief Talk magazine.
You're one
And
busy guy.
yes. But
So
I
we're
wouldn't
very
have it any other
lucky to
way.
have you here, right?
Yes.
Very
Well,
lucky.
it's a privilege. When you asked me to be on, I told you had me at hello.
Thank you, Tony. I'll let you continue. I interrupted you. My
No,
apologies.
no worries. But yeah, I've been doing this work now for 6 years. I've hosted the very first ever Global Grief Conference, which is it's been an annual thing since we started it. And I'm connected with grief workers, grief practitioners, mental health practitioners, trauma informed coaches from across the world, to be able to come and serve other people. But for me, I like serving other men or providing space for other men like myself who have struggled with loss, and providing a space to where we can learn how to articulate what's going on with us and have a better understanding, but also being supported by other men, and being heard,
Yes.
in an environment where it's, very, very comfortable for men.
Sorry, another alarm went off.
No worries, no worries.
I don't know what's going on here. Okay, well, very exciting, and I'm very excited because on your journey, maybe you could share just a little bit about, you've hit some rock bottom hard times.
Yeah.
And maybe we can start a little bit. We only have 30 minutes. We don't have a couple of hours. So unfortunately, we'll have to have you come back at another time.
Of course, of course.
But maybe for dads who are listening right now, right, who are dealing with loss, where did your journey start?
Wow. My journey actually started when I was 6 years old. I
Mhm.
was molested twice by my neighbor's son. And
Mhm.
then from there, it was a sequence of events as I got older, becoming someone who had to learn how to survive in the world. It changed my whole perspective and outlook on life. So balance became one of the things that I used to protect myself,
Mhm.
and fear just wasn't a factor in it. So everything that I've ever done, from martial arts, boxing, MMA, kung fu, street fighting, all stemmed from being in survival mode my whole entire life. I mean, I was a game banger for over 24 years. I went to prison for 5 years, and then from there, I've lost several friends. I've lost over 400 plus of my friends to either homicides, overdoses, suicides, natural causes. My
Mm.
most profound losses were my parents, my younger brother, and my son.
Mm. Yeah. Losing a son, that must be quite a challenge. I'm happy my kids are doing well, and but I know that how do you, like, on your journey, what tools have you discovered to support you so that you can keep this more balanced life?
You know, the tools that I developed along the way was, one, learning how to articulate what I was going through. That took a while because as a man, we don't get taught how to express our feelings. We get taught to man up. We get taught to suppress, not express. So that was one of the tools that I learned, was how to identify what I was going through. Being able to articulate my emotions in a way to where I didn't have to have other people guess what's going on, what was, what.
Mm. And that's a beautiful gift,
Mhm.
just to be able to say, okay, I'm feeling this way right now. Because
Right,
sometimes I was raised to disconnect
right.
because that's what my mom did, right? And so intrinsically, as kids, we pick up the tools. And if my dad raised his voice, I disconnect. So I was not connected to my emotions, my true ones, right? And
Mhm.
I've been doing a lot of work in the last 6 years, and man, there's stuff coming up as I reconnect, right?
Yeah, yes.
and and you're right, we need to first be able to identify the emotions that are there, right? And it's
Yeah.
so important to have support on that,
Mhm.
in that
And,
journey.
but another important thing that people often don't allow themselves to do is to actually feel those emotions, right?
Yes.
We fight them because one, well, the most important thing why we fight them is because a lot of times we go into survival mode.
Yes.
We don't know how to get out of there, and once we in
Mhm.
survival mode, guess what? We don't trust nobody, let alone ourselves. You know,
Yeah.
and this is why when we talk about grief, my expression of grief is that grief is a foreign love language,
Mm.
right? And if you don't understand how to speak it or understand what it's telling you and things like that, our basic instinct is I have to fight it. I
Yeah.
have to fight it. Then you realize that you realize that what you're fighting is just a natural part of you. It's a natural part of life. You know,
Yes.
and then the third key to it is, and this is very important, learning how to surrender to what you're going through.
Mm.
Grief requires your submission, right?
Yes.
And once you allow that to do it, you realize that it's just a love that you wasn't able to express.
Mm. Yeah, allowing that in. I often say acknowledge and accept, right? It's kind of
Hmm.
the just different wording to say the same thing, but learning to feel our emotions and allowing ourselves to feel them.
Hmm.
I remember a client who had a lot of grief and anger, and she says, Christine, I cannot let that out because I do the snap,
Yeah,
tap,
yeah,
and zap onto the spiraling train. And she says, oh, Christine, if I let just a little bit out, she says, it will explode everywhere. And she says, I can't guarantee anybody's safety. And I said,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
And yes, so we went at it one little chip at a time. And it was very interesting after quite a bit of time. Her husband went to the doctor and he did not need his liver medication anymore.
yeah.
And if you study in the EFT world, emotional freedom techniques, the liver is related to anger.
Hmm.
So the anger she was spewing out, he was taking it in and it was causing him liver issues. So it's
Yeah.
very, very interesting how all these emotions that are bottled in affect our bodies or the bodies of those around us, right?
Hmm.
Depending on if we've allowed ourselves to feel. And it's so hard to allow ourselves to feel, especially if we were never taught that.
Yeah.
And I often say between 0 and 7, 95% of everything that registers in your brain is registered as is. And then
Hmm.
later on, it's playing back. So being molested at 6, and a whole thing really puts you in a deep survival mode. And
Yeah.
that's why your brain was very smart and taught you to, learn those self defense you know what I mean?
Yeah, techniques.
Taekwondo techniques. Yes, that's the word I
Yeah.
was looking for. So that you could survive life. And then until there was a turning point, right? That
Hmm.
what was that turning point for you?
It was about 9 months after my mom passed away, because my mom passed away 2 years and 1 month after my son. So I got hit back to back with my parent. Well, my father passed away when my son was 6 months old. My younger brother passed away when my son was 9 months old. My son passed away at the age of 8. My mother passed away 2 years after that on my grandmother's birthday. So 10 months after my mother passed away, that's when everything turned around because I gave up on life. I didn't want to do it anymore
Yeah.
because, for one, I was an orphan,
Yeah.
right? I didn't have anyone. Now I got a younger sister, but
Mhm.
me and my younger sister's relationship, we were very distant. I hadn't talked to my younger sister in probably 30 some years,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
And so I felt alone. I
Yeah.
got tired of fighting,
Yeah.
being homeless, losing
Yeah.
everything over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Eventually, I just said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I
Mhm.
don't. I was in a dark place.
Yeah.
I mean, to have to admit this part was the hardest thing. I was afraid.
Mhm.
I was afraid for the first time in my life. I was afraid and I didn't know how to deal with it. And so my immediate thought was, let's remove ourselves from this situation. Life had beat up on me so much that I didn't know what else to do,
Yeah.
right? And I was when you've been homeless over 20 times in your life and you can't explain how you've been there. I mean, literally lost everything, sleeping in dumpsters, eating out of trash cans, you're sleeping under bridges, breaking into abandoned homes, breaking into people's cars on cold nights, or
Yeah.
going out and doing something stupid like breaking a window so you can go to jail for a couple of weeks because, you know what I'm saying, you get 3 hots in the cot and it's going to be warm,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so these are the things that I did. And
Mm.
eventually I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So
Yeah.
I made an agreement. I said,
Mm.
look, let me disappear. That was the first agreement. Just let me disappear. I will go to the mountains. I will find a cave. I
Mm.
won't bother anyone. I won't even come down.
Yeah.
And then life said no. I said, then let me just remove myself from this. And
Mm.
then I planned out my suicide, right? I
Mhm.
planned it out. I planned it out to the very last detail. And no one knew. I
Mm.
was really good at putting on a brave face, a strong face. And
Yeah.
this is what people expected of me. So no one even batted an eye or even questioned it. And
Yeah.
not knowing that behind the scenes, I've already mapped out this whole thing, like what I was going to do, where I was going to go, how I was going to do it, and things like that. And so I did. It was on a Friday. I said, I'm going to drive out to Utah. I'm going out to the middle of the desert. I'm going to spend 2 days just asking for forgiveness for what I'm about to do,
Mhm.
telling my family, the ones who have gone, that I love them and
Mm.
that I'll be seeing them soon.
Mhm.
And then that Sunday, I checked out of my hotel and I drove out to the middle of the desert and I sat down, waited for nightfall.
Mhm.
And I had a gun. I had bought a gun off the streets. And I made sure I was going to do it right. I bought hollow points
Mm.
to make sure that when I pull the trigger, there's no more coming back from this, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And
I hear you.
I
I
would,
can I just say, Tony, if anybody is triggered by this, we can just snap, tap, zap while you tell the
mm,
story, so we can release the stress or the overwhelm that it can bring to us. Because some people will be, and some won't. Some will be, oh, finally, somebody who will understand me. Tony will get
right.
me, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
it's important to have these conversations too, right?
Yeah. It
It's
is.
definitely important to have them because there's somebody out there right now that is going through some dark moments
Yes.
and they
Yeah.
probably feel in the same way that I am. And hopefully what I'm saying, I'm not trying to cause a trigger. I just want to bring a realization to them
Yes.
that they're not by themselves, right?
Yes.
And what you're going through is totally normal,
Yes.
but the key to it is that surround yourself with people when
Yes.
you're feeling that way that can help pull you back out of that emotion, out of that feeling, out of that dark place,
Yes.
you know
Yeah.
and and like I said, I was 2 seconds away and
Mhm.
this voice came about
Okay.
And I had a conversation with it,
Mm-hmm.
a long conversation with it. And the
Mm-hmm.
more and more I began to talk to it, the more and more it revealed to me that the things that I had went through in my life
Mm-hmm.
was not for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was for other people. The homelessness, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it allowed me to be moved around from place to place and meet different people along the way. I never really understood that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being an alcoholic, I now talk to people who are active in addiction and give them encouragement to seek
Yeah.
help. Right, I am a certified recovery coach as well.
Yeah.
So we help them
Beautiful.
navigate this world. Those men like myself who have had their childhood innocence taken away from them.
Mm-hmm.
They come to me like, man, I've hit this for so long.
Yeah.
So this voice helped me navigate this thing. And then I asked one simple question after that. I said, what am I supposed to do with this?
Mm.
And that voice said, hold on, I'm gonna show you. and
Oh,
and
love
it
it.
downloaded this thing on
Yeah.
me, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
something inside of me opened up, and I was like, what is this? What
Yeah.
is this? Right?
Beautiful.
And I came back to Colorado. I drove back, and this thing just kept coming, kept coming.
Mm.
This knowledge, this
Yeah.
thing just kept downloading on me.
Yeah. It wasn't your time. And
No,
because you sat in a peaceful place, peaceful environment, you were able to hear the messages that were sent to you.
yeah, yeah.
That's how I perceive it. I don't know if you have a different perception or
Well, that's what it was,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But here's the strange part about it. Although I didn't know what it was,
Mhm.
there was something about it that drew me to it.
Mm,
And the
yeah.
closer I began to draw closer to it, I said, "What is this?" And it
Mhm.
finally revealed itself. It says, "I am grief. I am
Mm.
grief." And I went,
Yeah.
"What is this thing called grief?"
Yeah.
This is what it is. And it began to reveal itself to me. And all of this knowledge, all of this wisdom that came along with it through the hurt and the pain,
Yeah.
it began to it began to shape me,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
I knew right then and there, I said, I need to do something with this. Just
Mm.
didn't know what I was going to do. But a
Yeah.
couple of weeks went by, and it dawned on me after going and trying to find support and putting the light bulbs going off. I said, you know what? I want to create a space for men like myself because
Beautiful.
I want to be surrounded by them.
Yeah.
I want to learn from them.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is that the roles were reversed.
Mm.
And then I began listening to these motivationals, and there was a motivation I was listening to, and the guy was talking about a gift. I was like, what is this thing called a gift?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
they said, it's inside of you. I said,
Yes.
oh, is that what this is?
Yeah.
This has been a part of my life my whole entire life. And then the guy said, it's the one thing that you do with the least amount of effort. And I began to think about it. I said, you know what? I like this.
Yes. And that's listening to that inner wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Way back when I started the series here, we talked about the self love at the beginning and then the inner wisdom and how to use the snap, tap, and zap to calm the survival mode so that you can tune into that inner wisdom.
Yeah.
And it's this pull that we have towards this direction. But
Yeah.
when we're stuck in the do, so that you can't hear, right? You can't hear that inner
Yeah.
wisdom, that gift that was given to you because each and every single individual on this planet has that gift.
Exactly.
And that is so important. If you can't hear it yet, it's okay. We love you anyway, right?
Yeah.
Give yourself lots of self compassion. Every journey is different.
And it's supposed to be.
Yes.
That's the beautiful part about it is that it's supposed to be different for everyone, right?
Yes.
Not everybody is going to do what we do, grief work, right? Not everybody's going to go out here and become an engineer,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And the crazy part about it is, Christine, is that my whole entire life, or before I began to develop into the game banger thing, all I wanted to do was draw. I thought I was going to
Mm,
become a famous comic book illustrator,
yeah.
maybe a cartoon animator or something like that, because I love drawing, right?
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
love drawing superheroes. And I had this, like, I used to create my own universal superheroes,
Oh,
things like that. And
cool.
that's what I thought I was going to do. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had a scholarship to do it. I
Mm.
got it. I almost got accepted to go to California and work with one of the greats out there, Stan Lee, when I was
Oh.
early on in life.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
mean, and so I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
But it never worked out that way,
Mhm.
right? It turned out that it was setting me up to do what I do now. And the beautiful thing about grief is that it allowed me to be creative in the things that I do, which is how I got to where I am today, right?
Yeah.
Throughout all of that, writing books, I never thought I was going to write a book. Doing
Mhm.
a podcast and then thinking to myself, like, you know what, I want to do something different. So I created intros, and I started playing around with like animations and things like that, and starting a grief conference. I was like, let's see what else I can do, right? And then starting a magazine, right? I was like, oh, this is fun. Like, I can still be creative and stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I was able to do so much with this, just with my imagination, to
Yeah.
see where it would take me.
Yeah.
So, in a sense, it still allowed me to be the artist, be a creative individual,
Mm.
and be able to use it in a way to where I was able to serve other people through the message that I was able to create.
So I have an amazing, like, I'm a creative too. So you know what?
Mhm.
Your books are for adults right now, right?
Uh huh.
Okay. So what if you can sleep on this one? What if you created a superhero book for the teens or the younger kids that have to deal with grief?
Oh.
Because I have a program called How to Become the Superhero of Your Emotions. And I have it in a 2D video animations in 1 to 2 minute videos for the little kids, right?
Mhm.
So teens love superheroes, and there's these high vocab comic books. So you don't write a
Mhm.
lot, but you have high vocab so that teens can learn vocabulary as they read the pictures.
Oh.
That's my challenge to you, Tony. I have goosebumps on this. This is
Ooh,
really cool.
don't you do that, because I will do it now. Don't you tell me, don't you put me in a position to do something, because I will. Because as you was talking about that, right, I was like, wow, I've
Yeah.
done things for children, like I'm creating children's animations right now. And,
Hmm.
and so 15-minute animation on, and I'm working on one on pet loss. I'm working on one in foster care. I'm working on
Oh,
one on,
beautiful.
with parental loss, sibling loss. So these are the things that I'm putting together. And I'm also developing a game too, a grief game, to help educate people, what I'm saying, by playing
That's
out
cool.
different scenarios. And,
Yes.
what I'm saying, it's a Q&A, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if you, like, what do you call this sort of grief, right? So
Mm,
it'll have the different stages of grief inside of there, and you would have to, what I'm saying, articulate what it looks like, which helps people understand that, hey, these things do happen, right? But this is what it's called. Let's put a name to it. And
mm,
the different sorts of feelings that people have, to be able to plug that in there, because not everything is anger, not everything is anxiety or depression or anything like that. There's
no.
other names to be able to go to there, right? And so it's going to give a list, which one of these best identifies what you're going through. Beautiful part about it is there's no right or wrong answers, and you
Yeah.
can always go back in as a change to go back in and go, you know what, it's no longer this is what it is.
And I love that you mentioned that. Grief changes.
Uh-huh.
It can change from a minute to the next, from a day to the next day, from this week to next week.
Mm-hmm.
The emotions that we feel when we are grieving vary. They can go from joy to being in the dump, right?
Exactly.
And that is and the more we can breathe that into our hearts and allow it, give it space, feel those emotions, and just let that be and have someone to share it with.
Hmm.
And I will add, choose the people you share this with.
Yes. Yes. That's part of finding your tribe, though, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
as you grow, you will realize that your tribe grows along with you. You may outgrow a necessity in one group, and because you know what I'm saying, you've gotten what you needed. And a lot of people are afraid to leave that group and go and get what you need. This is the purpose of those groups, right?
yeah,
Get what you need. Surround yourself with people that's going to speak life and love into you, that's going to help you in your healing process. And then when you get to a place to where you feel like you need a little bit more, that's okay. It's go to another group and see what there's going to be groups that are more advanced, with people far along in their healing journey that's going to be able to pour into you as well,
yeah.
right? So it's okay to do that. A lot of people don't like to do that because they're like, I made friends. I know. You can still have those friends.
Yes.
You can
You can
still
have
have
a cup
them.
of tea with them or a cup of coffee
Right.
at another day.
Right.
And yeah, because we do evolve and we are all individuals that are very, very unique. And
Hmm.
it's very challenging to stay exactly the same and perfectly aligned with our friends and our
Yes.
with our tribe. So it's loving ourselves enough
There you go.
to choose
You said it.
those that are in this moment able to support us, uplift us, and continue bringing us forward in that process.
Hmm. Yeah, you said it. You It's loving yourself through the process, and that comes with a lot of forgiveness, accountability. There comes a lot of grace. There comes a
Yes.
lot of patience. Like I tell when I talk to these men, I tell them, look, take your time.
Yeah.
This is not a sprint.
Yeah.
This is a marathon,
Hmm.
and sometimes in this marathon, you're going to come across hurdles that you're going to have to go, and you may not have the strength to jump across them at the moment.
Yeah.
It's okay to take a rest. You don't. There's no finish line to this. So what are you rushing? What are you rushing for? There's no finish line to this.
I love that. What are you rushing? Towards what? Why rush? It's a process.
It's a
Allow
process.
it, sit in it,
Yeah,
live it,
yeah.
accept
It's
it,
it's
acknowledge
part
it,
of,
accept it,
yes,
love it when you can, because sometimes
yes.
let the anger out if you need in a safe way. If you need to be screaming in your pillow, go for it.
You do what you need to do.
Yeah.
You do
And
what you need to do.
yeah.
That's the one beautiful thing about grief that I really want people to understand. You have to do what is necessary for you. Not
Yes.
what. Don't listen to people that say, "Oh, you're doing it wrong." How did they know what you need?
I love that. How listen to you, because
Hmm.
the answers are within us. What
Uh-huh.
works for one does not necessarily work for others,
There
and
you
that's what
go.
I discovered on this journey of the ripple effect of love for dads and families, is that I wanted to bring in people with different ways of dealing with their emotions, because there are so many different ways
Hmm.
and there is no one right answer. There are no gurus. If somebody tells you they're a guru, I'm like, run the other direction. Run,
Run,
run.
run! They're not run, run! Please go.
Okay, I'm glad you agree with me, Tony. Run
If they
the
said
other
that they have a
way.
blueprint, run the other way. There's no blueprint. You got to find some universal things that you can add to and take away from. Okay, don't do that to
Because it's
yourself.
a it's a it's an exchange, right?
Yeah.
There needs to be this exchange of give and take. It can't be just do it my way or take the highway, because that doesn't work. And that's why I'm helping dads create a ripple effect of love, so that they can let go of the way they were raised, right?
Uh huh.
And then they can lead from the heart because these dads, oh, here come Christian. I kept Christian in the sidelines a little bit longer, but I know we're almost done. Hi, Christian. Oh, you're not showing up on camera. Oh, there he is.
No worries. You're good.
I just
I'm
wanted you
just
to hop
listening.
in and say hi. But Christian, Tony, Christian is a dad that's been on this journey with me that hops on whenever he's got some time to share the progress that he's having of this ripple effect of love that he's creating in his family. And it is so beautiful. I am so proud of his progress and his children's progress and his spouse's progress. They just keep mind blowing, right, Christian?
I absolutely appreciate you. All the glowing comments, and yeah, we're definitely, Tony. Nice to meet you, and definitely got to
Yes.
make sure I pay Christine some extra for the PR here of all of the great all of the great things, all of the great things. Um, yeah,
I
no,
have
I oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Did you have something you really wanted to share, or I have a question for you?
Go for it. You can start with a question.
Did you have,
I've
because I
been
know you
listening.
were listening to
I
Tony, so do
was
you have a
right, right.
question for Tony on grief? Because
No, I agree with a lot of things and disagree with a lot of things. Luckily, fortunately, being able to be evolved men, we can have conversations that don't need to be an agreement. So I love the fact that we can pick it up. And I literally was at the market here with one of our clients, and we talked about it. Tony, and I think you would agree, or you take your stance here. We'd love to hear it. But when we're in whatever situation, um, tribulations, any challenges or conditions, it's our choice. And one of the things that you mentioned is when you're dealing with addictions or whatever issues, is getting to the root of it, because getting to the root of
yeah,
it's so just leveling up and mind blowing, because you're no longer dealing with symptoms or band-aids, but getting to the root of things. We can then choose to make a conscious decision, because we are no longer in flight or fight. Although that does not seem like a work day, it's not fight or flight for. And people say, no, I'm at work, I get things done. And this is one of the things that we talked about with Christine.
yeah,
I am efficient, I am performance driven, I am, yes, that screaming fight or flight. I love you, I want to hug you. Slow down. It's not about what you can perform, what you result, what you can provide. It's about you. And that's why I believe that self regulation,
mhm,
slowing down and taking back the control from our brains, from our emotions, and going back to the center, the heart, where we do everything in kindness and in unconditional love that has not been seen, right? It's only been exampled and relayed to us, but it is quite beautiful to understand that we don't have to judge, we don't have to critique, we don't have, and all of those thoughts and different things are what was taught to us. So
Mhm.
go back to, and this is how I connect the dots. It's that spice, the spiciness that we're eating, and we're going, you can stop. Oh, but it's so good and it's so delicious,
Yes.
and the liver, and you're just all in it and all about it, and you're complaining and sweating profusely, and you're going, but you can stop. No, 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 no. You have no idea. You have no clue. This is just so delicious. We do it subconsciously because we're wanting to feed our emotions. We're wanting to feel good about it. And we're getting attention or whatever it is, whatever underlining things.
Mhm.
So it really has been magnificent. And again, as you had mentioned, is there's just too many of us men. Again, we kind of elevate the men here because that's who I am, right? um, that we've been taught or been told to, or cultural, whatever it is, there's certain things that we're supposed to do for certain reasons. And now self-regulation has taught me that I can at any time stop dipping in that hot sauce, stop
Mhm.
chewing on it. It changed my whole dynamic completely. But again, going back to is the next point that I was saying is that just because we're performance based and result oriented does not mean that we're in control. It is quite the opposite.
Right. And I totally agree. So, in my world and everything, there's no right or wrong answers to this, right? You know what I'm
That's
saying? You're right. You can make a choice in everything that you do. I've been a men's grief coach for 6 years, right? And so it took me a long time to get to where I am through the work that I've had to do. One of the techniques that I developed along the way, which led me to the realization that you was just speaking of, Christian. You know what I'm saying? You can make a choice, right? But I had to get to the root cause of why I was the way that I was. And that was the basic question that I asked. Why am I this way? I'm a valid individual. I have no fear of anything. Why am I this way? And you know what I revealed? And this is why I talk about it so freely now, is because I learned how to sleep backwards and follow my life in reverse in my sleep. So when I would get up, I would remember and I would go, oh, wow, at this time when I woke up, I was 24.
Mhm.
I'm 50 years old. So that's 26 years of life that I went back through in one dream. And I
Mhm.
pinpointed it. The one thing about that is that you have to be totally honest with yourself through conversations, through people that you met, through details, people, everything that you've ever experienced from this point up until that point. Then you keep that in your subconscious. Now, when I go back to sleep, I'm 24. I need to go back a little bit further. That's not the root cause of it, right?
Mhm.
I know I started drinking right here. Oh, shoot, I was 17
Mhm.
when I started. Why did I start drinking?
Mhm.
Then I have to remember all the friends that I've watched die. I have to remember everything. I had to hold myself accountable for putting myself in situations to where people try to take advantage of me, and realize
mm,
it wasn't nobody else's choice. It was mine. I allowed these individuals to do this. I could have made a different choice, but I didn't.
However, I want to
yeah,
say,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt you, Tony.
yeah.
Did you have the skills to teach you to make different choices at that time? So it's
I
having a
did.
lot of, you did.
I
Oh,
did, but I chose differently. See,
okay.
instinctively, we already know
Yeah.
right the difference between right and wrong. We already have the skills to make those choices.
Yeah.
It's what you do in those moments that you can
Yeah.
make those choices. Well, I mean, again, I understand where you're coming from. But see, now again, I'm only speaking from my perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not speaking for a generalization of all people.
Mhm.
These are things that I've learned in my journey. I can't speak for
Yes.
nobody else's journey.
A-
So when I
And they're
say that we
beautiful.
instinctive,
And
yeah,
and it's being able to hold a lot of
right,
compassion for yourself when you become aware of those moments.
right. Now I'm gonna get to the now, and the reason why I say this, Christian, because once I got to the root cause of it, and I realized at the age of 6 years old, that's where it all started. I was
Mhm.
molested. But
Mhm.
now here's the other good thing about this that I learned too, and this is why I said I instinctively had the skills. I come from a good family. I had military family. I had a great grandmother, great grandmother. I had a grandfather. I had a good mom. I had a good dad. I had uncles that taught me. I had
Mm.
cousins that I used to play with when I was a kid. We was always being taught something.
Oh,
I
beautiful.
had older dudes in the hood that taught me things,
Mhm.
whether if it's learning how to survive on the streets, but they always gave me wisdom. The people that I connected with along the way gave me something. Nobody that I ever met didn't, what I'm saying, I didn't meet and it was wasted. I chose not to remember because I chose to be violent. And I made every excuse not to do the right thing.
Mm.
Instinctively, I knew right from wrong, but I still chose. I made the excuse to say, you know what? I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this no more. So the first time I tasted alcohol, guess what? It helped me escape that reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was able to numb myself. I was able to suck down my emotions and go, and I was able to accept the reality of, hey, man, tomorrow's not promised. The next moment's not promised. We just lost 6 dudes.
Mm-hmm.
We just lost 6 dudes. We just got into a drive-by. I had to watch kids die.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? And I still chose to be like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's the world that we live in. In my heart was going, no, this is the world that you chose to live in, Tony.
Yeah.
And I would say, and I would tell myself, I don't know nothing else. Man, I'm a straight A student in school. I studied at Howard University. I studied physics, philosophy, right? I got a degree in business, right? I did all of that. I got my IT degree. I did all of that, right? But I still chose to go back to the streets. It's not like I didn't know better. I just still chose to go back and do it because there was something about it that I was addicted to. I was addicted to the excitement of being in a position to where I may have the possibility of dying tonight. Ooh, who gets off on that? I knew better, but I still chose.
Yeah.
I still chose. But you know what the breaking point was? When I lost my parents. See, all the other losses, my friends and things like that, I understand they had nothing to do with me. I was there with them. I held their hands. I saw them take their last breaths. When I lost my parents, the realization started to change. I'm a little bit older now. I'm a little bit more mature, right? When I lost my little brother, I was like, man, this sucks. When I lost my son, I said, oh, man. Now I live in the reality of I'm the last of my bloodline. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I can't blame nobody for the 20 times I was homeless and had to sleep in dumpsters and eat out of trash cans, break into abandoned buildings, and I made those choices. So I hold myself accountable. So the way when I come and elevate these men and give them this pathway and things like that, it's their journey.
Yes.
It's their truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I did is not going to work for them. But that's what makes me who I am in the field that I'm in.
Yes.
That's what makes me who I am.
Yes.
Right?
And today we just got to link how you can be a cartoonist.
Yeah,
with what you do.
Exactly. So I'm creative. It's like everything came around. I was able to use these things in a great positive way. And my heart changed to where I said, you know what? I want to serve other people. And whatever that looks like in my journey, I surrender to the process.
Yeah.
And it was a process of becoming who I am today, my more authentic self, and having the understanding of grief and the connection that we as human beings have with it. And that's why I love it so much, because it allows me to be in other people's spaces without judgment, without making it about me, because it's not about me, but with compassion and empathy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to be able to speak life and love into these individuals, oh man,
it's a beautiful gift that you're sharing, right?
It's a beautiful gift, right?
It is.
You know what I'm saying? And like I said, in this world that I live in, there's no right or wrong answers. It's the truth that you're going to develop along your journey.
Yeah.
I'm just here to walk you to your next destination, to make sure that you have company, to let you know that when you falling down on your knees and you feel like you can't get up, look next to you. I'm sitting down with you. I can't do the work for you, but I'm sitting here with you. Take a breather. You want to laugh? You want to cry? That's okay. I'm here.
I love
when you're
that.
ready to get up, we'll take the next step.
I love that distinction.
That's all I do.
Yeah. That's a beautiful distinction that you just made there, Tony. It's an essential distinction.
It's an essential, right? It's a necessity as for me. So I can no longer walk around as if I am naive to the gift that I have. When I figured
you can.
Well, I can, but I made a choice not to. That's the difference. That's the difference. I made a choice not to.
The reason I say is you can is because at any point, and one of the big things that we have to understand is when you make a decision, and it's a consistent decision when we're going to fall or relapse or make a slight adjustment. With four kiddos in the situation where I'm currently at, and the granted, a lot of the stuff that you went through seems like similarities in regards to a lot of the background, um, in regards to running the streets and things like that. So we're gonna staying on topic and to make this very wonderful episode not too long. Um, I definitely understand, and in different lows, not once but multiple times, facing death and losing my father at 7, my mother 14 years ago. I'm not near 50 yet, but many of the things and many of the challenges and abuses and neighborhood and cultural, I really, as you've mentioned, is being able to look back and not so much pinpoint, but address the hurt and the situations that
Mhm.
were no longer, no, sorry, that weren't because of me. But yes, I have to be accountable for the decisions that I chose to
Yes.
put myself in the situation.
Yeah.
And so speaking and not speaking in any other form, but we've talked about this, is speaking to build, to edify, not to offend, listening to understand. And I
Mhm.
was just having a conversation 2 weeks ago. Christine will remember. I was having a conversation with the principal of my kid's school, and she goes, "So you're doing the 7 habits of happy kids in your marriage?" I said, "Yes."
Well, yes.
But that's the 7 habits of happy kids in life. Like, if we understand that it's the 7 habits to happy or successful kids or whatever it is, which is just goes back down to focusing, you know being proactive, beginning with the end in hand, putting first things first, think win-win, listen to understand, and then synergize, and then sharpen the saw. These are things that really educationally and down to the basics, as you said, run away from gurus, definitely. But there's an outline there's an outline that if we take that piece, and congratulations and beautiful what you're doing is equipping other people with, hey, there's a different way, there's a different mode, there's a different system within your own self where you can learn, where you can understand, where you can think freely, which will allow you to calm down those, like you said, is that anger, right? That violence, that retribution, or that whatever it is that you're feeling. Sorry, I don't mean to put words into,
No,
or
no, you're
thoughts
fine.
into,
You're
but I'm
fine.
saying is that whatever thoughts and that come of it,
Mm.
and it's really reflecting because I'm working with my two boys, especially, in to be able to let it out, to cry, and
Mhm.
asking them if they need a hug and crying with them, but also allowing them to equip themselves and self regulate themselves so that they can understand that I'm here. I'm at a hard hand. I'm like literally just wanting to, but I'm wanting them to equip themselves. And if they need that from me right now, I am here. But I need them to also understand that they need to have that, and should, excuse me, I want them to have that self regulation on their own merit and for their own selves, even without dad, because I lost my dad way too young, and I
Mhm.
didn't have a positive role model or a parental dad
Right.
figure,
Right.
as much as I would have wanted to. So, absolutely, congratulations on what you're doing. Definitely, let's link up. Let's cross arms. I always say I always got one arm up and one arm down, because I'm reaching for the next tier. That's just who I am. I want to do more for me, and I want to bring up the next person that may be at the lower tier. Let's bring you up, and if you can make it further than I can, man, I'm gonna be here clapping and congratulating and encouraging you the whole way. Because
Yep.
I am not the limit. I am nothing to be measured against. I am not to anything but just to encourage, and just like you have said, is, man, listen, there's other ways, and there's other
Yeah.
methods, and there's other techniques. So
It's funny that you said that, right? Because I'm gonna be real stream. I'm gonna be real fast with this. The reason why I started the conference that I started back in 2022 is because being a man that just stepped into this field, I began to meet people from across the world. I noticed that no one was working together.
mhm.
So I devised a plan. I said, you know what?
Mhm.
I want to do a conference, and I wanted to be a global grief conference. And what I want to do, I want to bring all of these people together. Because what I realized, no one knew each other. It was like a competition. I'm like, we don't have to
Mhm,
compete.
mhm,
We're
Yeah.
so
mhm.
much better if
Yeah.
we work together.
Yeah.
So now, you know what I'm saying? Now I have to devise a plan to bring us together,
Yeah.
right? And so I did. And I had 119 presenters on my first ever conference, 72-hour live event. I brought them together. You know what was born after that? The Global Grief Network. They came through. It was like, oh my God,
Mhm.
you guys, we should stay in this group. We should learn how to network and collaborate against one another.
Yes.
I will tell you something. Sometimes people just need a way to connect with each other and realize that we have more in common than anything else. And once we can realize those commonalities, we can play off each other's strengths, and
Yeah.
Yes,
we can play off each other's weaknesses. Where I may be
yes.
weak at, you may be strong at. Let's use this together.
Yes.
Because together we are stronger. Look, I've been to the top of my mountain. I came back down. I went to the top of my mountain again. The second time I looked down and I saw all of these individuals and I saw these little specks of light and I realized those were my people.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I'm coming down. I built a hell of a platform. I'm going to grab each and every last one of you that I come across and I'm going to pull you up on this platform. I want to see you succeed. I
Yeah.
challenge everyone that I come across. If you think that I'm doing something, I challenge you to do better than me. Tell me your dreams. You want to do a TED Talk? Do it. You
Yeah.
want to have that podcast? Do it. You want to write that? Do it.
Yeah.
But surround yourself with people that's going to push you to do better. And then when you get to a certain point, reach back and grab the next person.
Mhm.
Because this
Beautiful.
time I'm not going up to the top of my mountain. I'm going to stay at the base so I can watch you succeed. I can care less about being successful. I can
Mhm.
care less about being. I want to see you succeed because, for
Yeah.
Mhm.
one,
Yeah.
when I leave this place, it's not going to be about all the money that I've made. It's not
Mhm.
going to be about the houses or the cars or anything like that. It's going to be about what I put back into the world. And my gift is theirs.
Beautiful.
And so,
Living a
just,
legacy.
yeah,
Living a legacy.
we
Yes.
got to leave the place. We got to leave this earth better than what we found it.
Exactly. I totally agree, Tony. And we went way over 23
I
minutes
know.
over, but it's okay. We had so much fun. Well, I did
Yeah.
anyway. I always love these exchanges. They are so rich, and I'm certain our audience will.
Yeah.
So, you are the podcaster of Grief Let's Talk About It podcast.
Yes.
So, follow Tony and learn more from him. And we'll have, I mean, I really would love to have you back on. We'll give you time to do all your other stuff. And then maybe we can have you back on when you start working on that superhero. I'm
You
not
know
going to
what?
Yeah.
leave you
I
I
heard
alone
got
about
to
with
that.
that,
check.
am
I'm
I?
gonna run this by you because I love the fact that Christine, you brought this up, and I was thinking about it. I was like, grief guy, right? You know what I'm saying? A children's character, Marvel, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
superhero, type guy, but just a normal guy who has this gift of grief and understanding and can see people's
Yes.
hurt, right? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So instead of having those, superpowers like super strength and things like that, he shows up when people needs him, like children, teenagers and
And
adults.
that's his superpower.
And that's his superpower,
His
right?
superpower is to show
Yeah.
up when people need him, just like
Yeah.
Tony does.
And what does he look like? He looks like your average Joe, right? He
Yeah.
Yeah,
looks like the loner walking down the street. He looks like the guy who doesn't have a home, but he's constantly in places where he needs to be
yeah,
when he needs to be there,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Very simple
That's
individual.
it.
That
That's it.
reminds me of
That's
you.
it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's it right there. Yeah.
That's it, man.
Absolutely, man. That's why
What a
I tell people, and a lot of people in marketing and advertising and sales, they're talking about leaving you want to leave this, you want to leave a legacy. Insurance people, you want to leave money, you want to leave that as a legacy. Tony, I definitely welcome and invite you to living, living, a legacy,
yeah,
living a legacy, so that what you are doing is continued. And I applaud you, encourage you, and definitely behind you in
yeah,
100%. So I definitely, let's connect and see what we can definitely build up. We've got a couple of centers here in North County, San Diego. We're already working with homeless family shelters, a couple of
Mhm.
other organizations, a couple of spiritual folks in healing, natural wellness, and doctors that would love to encourage. And the biggest thing is right now is how are they able to communicate with their kids, because it's we're having a difficult time and we're dealing with all these stressors,
hmm,
and we're, well, not all of us, not generalize it, Tony, but a lot of these parents don't even know how to begin to speak with their child, teen, and or kid, you know let alone to other partners or spouses or bosses or whatnot. So it's definitely a communication. And thank you for being on
yeah,
part of the ripple effect of love with dads and families, and definitely encourage and promote, support you and what you're doing. And let's get out there because we're changing today's future.
yes. It
Yes,
starts
we
with
are.
now, and the seeds we
Yeah.
planted today,
Let's
let's
connect.
watch them
Christine.
grow.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. It was an honor to have both of you on the show with me. I thank you, and you
Let's do it
have
again.
an amazing day.
Let's do
Yes.
it again.
And
But yeah, connect me with them. You know what I'm saying? I'll send you over my information,
yeah,
hand it off. I would love to come back again. I
yeah.
do I do have to jump off. I have to jump on another one.
Yeah, no worries. Go ahead. And so if you want to connect with me and you want Tony's information, I'll put it in the chat under the lives. But otherwise, or you can book a call with me so that I can support you, or I can connect you with Tony. So have a great day. See you tomorrow at